like working that last job, straight up, my mom told me this too. I was like, Mom, what the fuck, man? This sucks. like you told me this is gonna be cool, and it sucks.
What is up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. Selfishly, I think one of the best things about me doing this show is just being able to have so many awesome one-on-one conversations with so many awesome people within the hardcore scene. Some people that I've met in person over the years and some people that I've yet to meet in person. But, sometimes I think when you're meeting people at a show, there's a lot of not like speed dating, but you're kind of just bouncing around from conversation to conversation. You can't really get into the weeds on stuff unless you have that dedicated time with someone. And this person that we're having on the show today is their second time on the podcast. And the first time that that Zadak came on, I was really just inspired by our conversation. And it was 2 years ago at this point, and I feel like there's a lot of catch up and things to update. So without further ado, Zadak, thank you for coming back on the pod.
Hi.
It is really great to see you.
Yeah, man, you're gonna make me cry already. Come on. It's great to be here. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, and I feel like you always have, I'll just say it out loud if you're listening to this in 5 years time, but you always have an open invite for this podcast because our convo the first time was super, super fun. But like I was alluding to, a lot has changed. Originally when we did the first interview, you were playing in Boundaries, and that's changed. And you have a new band that you and I have been chatting over the last couple weeks about. So obviously there's things to talk about there, but as you know, we need to check a bev before we get into any music chats.
Okay.
And as you rub your hands together with great anticipation,
oh yeah, man,
what do you got for me, my friend?
All right, man. So I'm gonna go normal. I'm gonna go normal first, right? We got the black iced coffee from Dunkin'.
Yeah.
It's like the really good shitty coffee that you get in the Northeast. But then you got to add a little bit of blueberry to it.
What?
It's different.
On
it's
God's
different.
Green earth.
It's weird, and it tastes like chemicals and a little bit of poison, but it's really good for some reason.
Is it straight up blueberries or juice or extract?
Yeah,
or what's the?
It's like boba but with blueberries.
I see.
No, it's just like a flavor shot, but it's definitely just disgusting, and I don't know why I do it, but it's really good for some reason. Yeah, oddly enough, it's really good. And then obviously, I always have 9,000 bevs every time I'm here. So me and my girlfriend have been on this crazy probiotic drink kick. So I have this tepache, and it's just a mango chili guy. Oh, the focus! Look at that. It's crazy. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's made out of pineapple rinds or something. It's really, really good.
Now, as a design head, did the can design caught your eye?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly why. Yeah. Because the probiotic thing, sure, but look at it.
Yeah.
It just works. And it's orange, which is all that matters to me.
Yeah.
If
Which
it's orange,
I think
I'm
is
grabbing it.
even the better reason that we are friends, that we connected so much on our first podcast about orange.
Orange. Literally everything is orange. My mic is broken, so I have orange gaff on it. Orange tape. This mic has orange tape on it.
Mm-hmm. I have
always have orange everywhere.
Orange You Happy print by a friend of the show, Molly of Gridiron. I have a fucking orange clock here.
Yep.
I have an orange GameCube controller that I don't want to pull just because it's set up in a kind of way. But
in a fancy spot.
Yeah, there's sometimes I feel like a cartoon character because sometimes I realize my outfits every day, there's always like a hit of orange, but that's that's just my thing. I don't know. Like I'm wearing orange Crocs right now.
I got orange
is
glasses
something I
on.
can show you.
That's crazy. I don't have orange shoes. Wait, do I? I think I'm lying. Oh my god. The what are those Air Maxes that everybody wore in like 2017? Like the infrareds? Those have little orange on it. I have those.
Okay.
My
you
graduation
got the
cap
glasses with the
is orange,
which is a big, apparel.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Ongoing.
I had an orange watch that I broke at a Foreign Hands show. Shout out Foreign Hands.
Yes.
I snapped my watch at your show. Unfortunately.
I guess my glasses have it's this part that's like it's more copper, but it's
it's there though.
Yeah,
people can't see it, but it's there. Yeah. That's all that matters.
But without like this podcast just absolutely getting derailed by a pigment. Yeah, great bev choices. I'm drinking a Liquid Death, the very, very classic. I realized because we're doing this podcast pretty early in the day, I downed my coffee. I had a full glass of orange juice, and I have this. So I'm just letting you know that there might be a bathroom break that I impose at some point in the episode. So
last episode, I needed to use the bathroom so bad because I brought 3 bevs, and when I talk, like I'll just grab and drink, or when I'm especially if I'm like driving, I'm sucking down whatever drink I have. So I had to pee so bad last time.
Yeah,
but I was like, I can't. I'll wait. I could do it.
Yeah,
well, but like I remember watching the episode back, and I was like sitting like this. I was all uneasy. I remember that shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, there have been some interviews where I've been doing the rocking, and then I'm like, okay, let's just hit the mosh story and head out. And they're like, oh, can I tell 3? I'm like, God, yes.
Are you sure you want to tell 3? Just tell me about that one time you got knocked out and let me pee. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's funny with Jordan, who produces the show now. I'm like, do we need to do like a mandatory bathroom break an hour in? But sometimes don't want to upset the flow. Well, Zadak, cheers to you, my friend. Really excited to see you and excited to have you back to talk about what the fuck is going on in your life.
Yeah, man. Here, boom,
boom. It's always good. At least for the audio listeners don't get to see this, but when you see the video in sync with the bev check, feels like we're some synchronized swimmers, but we're
man, not bad,
guzzling back some bevs.
Yeah, and if you could hear it, that's even better. Some ASMR for the listeners.
Right. So I think for these like round 2 interviews that we do, we've done the origin story, we've done some of those things in your first interview. So for the round 2 ones, after you do the bev check, I just kind of do a vibe check as far as how are things and what's been going on in your life since the last time we spoke on this.
Oh man, let's see. COVID was happening, right?
Right.
When we talked last. But since then, gained a little weight, chilling, feeling good. Just have like a nice circle of people around me every day that I appreciate to death. Shows have been killer in, Connecticut and the Northeast as a whole. Been working, just designing, getting stuff done. So I can't really complain, Just been kind of laid back, getting a bunch of stuff done, new music, just really trying to get shit rolling again, starting from the ground up again. So it's a lot of work to kind of get all started, but when it works, it's cool.
Yeah, and I know in the title of this podcast we'll have it, but your new band that we're going to talk about a little bit later is Centralia. Or as we were joking before, Central Yay.
Central yeah.
So obviously, like, we don't have to go into it as much as you want, but like when you were originally on, the band that you were representing was Boundaries. that has now changed, and now you're starting this new band. And there's definitely like a lot, like, to your credit, there's a lot of work when you're building a band from the ground up, and there's still things yet to come. But I guess the biggest difference from these two is you were playing bass in Boundaries, and in this band you're singing and you're doing vocals, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So like, talk to me about that, like that shift. Like, have you always wanted to like sing in a band, and like maybe leaving Boundaries was like, I think it's time for me to do this at this point in my life? Or talk to me about that.
So when that band started, I started that band playing bass, and then play guitar, and then play bass and backup vocals, all the stuff. So I've always wanted to front a band for sure. But when this band kind of came along, it was kind of just like, I want to write some music for myself. So with that, it was kind of tackling it as like just write some stuff, sing on some stuff. And then once members gathered and we wrote a bunch of music, it was kind of just like, right. It kind of just worked. I feel like I have a lot to say. A lot that I've always wanted to get out that I kind of really couldn't do an instrument. And I'll tell you straight up, I miss playing guitar and buying pedals and making pretty noises, but it's cool to have a microphone, man. It just feels good. We had our first practice the other day, and there's like 19 bands happening right now between like shared members and stuff, which is always fun. But just like getting to play like a song or two and like feel it work, yeah, it really clicks. And instruments are like my thing, but I'm stoked for this new little journey that I'm heading down.
Sure. So talk to me about like the lineup, because you're the only person in the band that I know of, but if there's 19, and I don't know if you're exaggerating a little bit, but like, who are the other people in the band as far as this point?
Okay, so right now, so it's me. Our bassist is Kalina, which is my girlfriend. Then our guitarist Vaughn or Big Dog. Everybody has nicknames as usual.
It's very important. Thinking back to the last time we talked.
Oh yeah. We got Jay Specs. He is our other guitarist. He also sings in the band Papercut.
Okay.
Which I also play bass in. So it's like, and then Vaughn also plays guitar in Papercut. So it's like all the bands kind of mix around members and throw them in different spots. And then Brandon Antoniak, who he just toured with Broken Vow. So if you saw Broken Vow over the past like 2 weeks, he was playing drums for Broken Vow. And yeah, those are the five of us.
Okay.
Just getting it done.
I'm hoping the new metal stan or simp in you is Papercut named after the almighty Papercut?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Linkin Park yeah. It rocks, man. It's very cool because Centralia has its little blips, of like new influence, but Papercut is just like a straight up new metal band.
Okay.
So
very cool.
It's definitely sick. If you haven't checked out the record, do it.
Yeah.
Do it right now.
Do it. Pause this podcast. Just
pause it.
Yeah. Just close it. Just go do that.
Don't listen to me. Just go. Go.
At least for the Centralia stuff, like when I was listening to it today, what was very interesting to me as someone that listens to a lot of new music, a lot of different styles of heavy music specifically, is that there's definitely like certain bands that I could connect y'all to, but not a specific subgenre that I could be like, it's only this. There's definitely I feel like if I'm gonna like gun to my head and take a fire from the hip, I would say it's metalcore. But I do think that there are certain things that you guys do creatively that I was like, wow, I'm like really like I'm really like I'm really shocked that this is working so well, if you know what I mean. Like it's just kind of showcasing that, thinking outside the box and doing different things.
Right.
But yeah, it's and you know, we're this early in the episode, but is there any specific timelines of when people can expect it, as far as when this podcast is going to be coming out in the late February? Because I think again, this is all stuff that we talked prior to to starting, but there might be a single out already, so people have something to already check out. But anything that you want to say, being this early in the episode before people start to drop?
Yeah, I mean, the single should be out right now. We are dropping the song Whenever You Please in, what is it, February 2nd today? I'm just gonna say soon, you know. And it'll probably be out by the time you're listening. And then we're gonna try to have, you know, video full length out by, I'm gonna say, late March, early April.
Okay.
That's
cool.
That's the only timeline I have in my head. It's still all scattered and so fucking all over the place, but you know, I'm stoked. And it's gonna be coming out on Afira Records. So check it out.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something out the gate that has a little bit of a bump as well. Yeah,
it's a homie label that a lot of us are a part of already. So it's very cool to just kind of, you know, if the record goes anywhere, does anything cool, you know, bring your homies up with you. That's what I think is most important. So totally. I'm excited. It'll be sick.
So I want to go back a little bit. You know, this was stuff that kind of, you know, again, a lot of the origin stuff we talked about in our first interview, but I was kind of like going over and making sure, you know, that we didn't miss anything. And I think something that maybe didn't hit my radar, or maybe I didn't connect the dots, is, are you originally from Nicaragua? Is that why you have the flag in your?
I'm not, but I am Nicaraguan. Yeah.
Okay. So that's where your family is from.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I was born in Dallas, Texas, and now I'm in Connecticut. So it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place, but I've been in Connecticut most of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that was just something I was like. It would be weird if you just did that out of nowhere. You're like, I'm not, and there's no connection at all. So
yeah, and I just have the flag chilling in there. It's just a bit. I have the flag in my car and all over the house, but it's a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever like gone back there for like family stuff, or had any desire to do so?
No. So I want to, but I've heard that it's kind of iffy over there. Also, I don't have my passport, so that's like a whole thing. And that connection to my family is, I wouldn't say it's sparse, but it's probably not enough for me to like just like show up there and be like, "What's up?
Sure.
Miss me?" You know?
Right.
So one day I definitely plan on doing it whenever I have time and money, which is hard to find.
Right.
But you know, one day I definitely want to. It's definitely like a bucket list thing for me.
Totally. Yeah, it's
just kind of be there in my culture, you know.
There've definitely been certain people who have come on that, you know, they have family backgrounds from places like that around the world, and you know, and then it becomes a conversation like, are there bands and scenes and shows that are happening within those places that, you know, maybe if your family decide to not move to America, like, I don't know if, you know, it's always the what if, like, would I have actually found out about it without doing that? Maybe, but, you know.
Yeah. I think about that a lot, man. Like, I think if my dad hadn't come here and kind of found music in that way, then I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now, you know? I feel like all you get in like Nicaragua is like stuff randomly sent over there, like randomly hearing like a 5 Finger Death Punch song and be like, wow, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, but I also don't really know, you know, there could be a hardcore scene there, and, you know, which would be so cool. You know, I never really dug in though.
I do think that, you know, with things, you know, now that we live in the social media age, that's like it's fully matured, it's fully marinated, so it's like the way that people can access music is just totally different than it was 10 years ago. So,
for sure,
you know, I'm sure that there are, Turnstile, Knock Loose, Code Orange fans in like really obscure parts of the world that maybe
Yeah,
they
man.
don't have a hardcore scene, but maybe them hearing it that's the initial spark to maybe
that's
get
enough,
things going.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
If you look at like Spotify for artists and you kind of like scroll through and see like where your listeners are at, it's really, really neat to see.
Yeah.
You can find some fans in some pretty cool spots that you just wouldn't really expect it,
I mean, if there's one person who's watching or listening to this podcast and they live in Nicaragua currently, send a DM to be like,
Yeah,
we got
hit me
shit
up,
going
man.
on here. Or we don't got shit. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Hit me up. I'm trying to come to a show. That'd be sick.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I know before we get into like talking about the new band stuff, I know like a huge talking point and a huge thing I think that started a lot of the things that we still talk about to this day. And talking there's one thing for us to just get giddy about the color of orange, but like, in our first interview we were talking about like design wise how that's like a big thing, and people that follow you know that is something that is very a part of your world. I don't know what the current state is, because I think again, this was 2 years ago, so there's a lot of catch up here, but I think that there was you're doing freelancing, but there was also times where you were at like certain places doing that for like a more 9 to 5 kind of setup.
Yeah.
Where are you at like, February 3rd, 10:35 a.m. Mountain Time as far as what's going on with that?
Right now I am just freelancing. I was at an agency called Over Above for a while. But it was like just not what I liked to do. And it was sick because it was like a little bit of structure that I've never really felt before, because I mean before that it was like touring and trying to get things done in like a McDonald's because it has Wi-Fi. But coming home and trying to get it figured out a little bit, I needed like a 9 to 5 structure to kind of, if I didn't work there, I don't think I would have had like any sort of responsibility or like sense of responsibility for myself in terms of like scheduling and kind of getting more along the lines of that. My sleep schedule is still terrible, but it was a little better while I was there,
Sure.
Because it had to be. But it just wasn't really my line of work. It was like casino stuff, and I don't really want to make stuff for people with gambling addictions. I want to do some music stuff. And whenever like music stuff came through, they gave it to me, which was pretty cool. But like if you ever go to like a Mohegan Sun and there's like the arena and there's like those big screens that like line across the thing and like all the big flashy shit, I did that.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of cool, but then it would be like, take this logo that was already made and just put it here and send it off. And I was like, that sucks. I want to make the logo. Can I?
Right.
Yeah, man, got you. And then you just sit and it's like, oh, okay, heard. So I left a few months ago, and then since then it's just been freelancing and just getting this music thing going again.
Yeah.
I missed it too much.
Yeah.
To not put all my time in.
I think as a fellow creative, obviously it's a little bit different because you're on the design side, and I've always had like the video and content creation, social media kind of that's been my lane.
Right.
I think when I was first kind of getting into it, like working at an agency seemed like this like fairy tale land of like, oh, you're just a bunch of creatives and you're in the cool office and you get all these things. And then once I actually got a job after I moved to Calgary at a creative agency, it was like, oh, this is actually not for me. And it kind of like I can't really say that I worked on anything that I was like super proud of or like anything like that, but I think my biggest takeaway from that was like sometimes you need to do something to know that is not your thing.
Right.
Sometimes you have to like, and I don't know if that's like the same that you can apply that for music, where it's like, yeah, I want to play drums in a band, and you're like, holy fuck, I am tired of lugging my shit around all the time for every single show.
I can't breathe after a song. I need to do something else.
Yeah, but I think like whether that's like, I don't know, for friends of mine, they would be constantly like almost like so overwhelmed and stressed about like making the right call. And that could be for anything in life, not even just like a career move. It's like, oh, I don't know if I should move here, I should do this. But like that was an early indicator for me of like, it's okay to choose something. And if it's the wrong choice, you can just like quit and go on and do something else and just keep moving forward.
I think it's like a takeaway is like it's so important to just try it. You know, like just do it. I almost got a job at Pentagram in New York, which is like a big like the firm right out of school. But then I would have had to move to New York, and then in my brain I'm like, all right, well, if I move to New York, that might fuck over like music and everything. So instead of going, you know, I just stayed put, did music, here I am. I can't say I don't regret it a little bit, you know, because it's like just give it a shot, and if it absolutely sucks, go back, you know. Again, because I'm the same way where I thought like, dude, working at Pentagram probably would have sucked, to be completely honest, because you have like a room full of creatives, but there's hierarchy, there's weird structure, there's, you know, you go in and you're kind of like, either you could go straight in and you're doing really cool shit, or it's like a bunch of, yeah, you can 3 years down the line, kind of like a earn your stripes kind of thing. But it's just like wasting potential, you know? Like, I think just do what you got to do to see if you like it. And if you hate it, there's, I think, plenty of options for creatives and just people in general, you know?
Have you heard the story of the Chinese farmer?
No.
I saw this on TikTok a couple days ago, and it like in the background of like setting up this podcast, there's been a lot of like personal challenges and just different things that are like kind of coming to the end point for me. And I saw this and it really helped me. But the story goes is that there's like a Chinese farmer, and he has a horse, and the horse runs away. And he's, you know, a farmer in the small town, and the entire town rallies, and they're like, oh, like your only horse, it ran away. That's really bad news. And he's like, well, I don't know yet. You know, he's like, we'll see. And then the next day, the horse comes back with like 2 more horses. And then the whole town comes, and they're like, oh, this is such great news. And he's like, well, I don't know yet. And then the next day, his son is on the horse and falls over and breaks his leg. And then, oh, such bad news. Yeah. It's like, well, I don't know yet. And then the next day, the Chinese military is like, we're taking any able young bodied to go out to war. And then he's like, well, my son has a broken leg. And then it's kind of this constant thing where it's like, you know, every day there's like things that'll happen that are inarguably good or bad, but the way that you're reacting to them and seeing how they play out is, you know, that's how you can kind of have control of it. So that's been, you know, something when you're talking about, oh, like, did I miss out on this? Or like, is it a subtle regret? It's like you'll never actually know how it plays out. And I'm sure that there are some other bad things that would have happened on that timeline. But that for me really helped, like, oh, like things that I'm struggling with now might actually be the causes for the great things that are coming just around the corner. I just need to, you know, stop being a baby about it, and, you know, and just kind of see it through.
Yeah, man. I mean, shit, that's like what is that? The butterfly effect, where like if one little thing happened differently, then the whole timeline would be skewed. You know, it's like the same idea. It's like if I moved to New York, I probably wouldn't be here, you know? And I think like that's where my head is at all the time too. It's like important to just be grateful with what you got. And like, if you feel like you fucked up, hey, maybe you did, but like you're here now, you're doing your thing, you know, like I have a new band and cool music and great people around me, you know, and I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't be doing all of this if I moved there, got that job, or, you know, didn't work the shitty casino job for a second, you know? Yeah. So it's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, try not to stress yourself out about it too much.
For other people that are listening that are maybe also designers or do kind of like, they might do band design stuff just for their project versus doing it for a large array, what are the things that you have learned the most as a freelancer versus someone who was like working in an office that was kind of doing stuff outside of that?
Freelancing, I will say straight up, sucks. But the best thing about it is you are your own boss. You make your time, which could be good or bad. You know, you have to have a lot of self-discipline, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. Nothing's better than being the person that does all the stuff. And it's stressful, but something that you make and something that you create, unless the person that you're giving it to doesn't like it, something that you create is going to be the thing that potentially represents a band for years and years to come. And then maybe they get a new logo from a new guy, but somebody else buys that record. That's your logo. It
and
rocks.
That could be their first band shirt ever that they've bought.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I think about that with Boundary stuff all the time. It's like, I have like piles and piles of shirts, and I'm just like, shit, so many other people have those piles of shirts that I made. Like, it's cool to think about, that like, I think just like one takeaway from freelance is like, it's gonna suck, but the stuff that you do and you did all yourself is gonna be the thing that thousands and thousands of people see, or maybe even 10 people see. But make your portfolio, do your thing, put your name out there, and just force it down people's throats. Like, throw your designs at people. You know what I mean? One thing I think that I want to do is not necessarily be like, here's a post, hit me up. I kind of want to take a route that's like, here's my portfolio, random band, want to do something? Because I used to hate when people did that to me, like being in a band and like people just like kind of like randomly DMing you and be like, here's my portfolio. And I don't know if it was like a jaded kind of thing, but like I think about it and it's like, sometimes you freelance and you have zero work and there's an insane amount of struggle. And you're like, kind of like, should I buy that Dunkin' coffee? Probably not. I need to buy groceries and pay bills and just exist as a human. Send people your portfolio, man. If they say no, they say no. Move on to the next guy.
Yeah.
It's important. And networking is key, obviously. I might be going off track from the original thing, but freelancing rocks. Also kind of sucks, but I think it's way better than kind of sitting at a desk in an office with a bunch of people looking over your shoulder. Just do you. I think that's the most important thing. It's tough to do that in a marketing agency,
right?
And along
those lines. Because I think the best way that I've heard it is like, when you are your own boss, you are like the last line of defense. And like, when you work in a company, whether it's like, there's 10 people or 10,000 people, wherever you are in the pipeline, everyone but the last line of defense, like the CEO or the chairman, everyone can theoretically point the finger of like, well, it's this person's, like, if there's an issue that arises, well, you hired this person. Well, you hired the boss of that person, and then you enabled this culture. Like, so there's something that always trickles down. But when you are the only one, like you're the one in charge of the scheduling, you're the one in charge of setting your own rates, you're the one in charge of the communication of all those things. It's a lot of work. But I do believe, at least for the the freelance stuff that I've done, there have been especially a lot of times where like the mirror has been held up to me of like, oh shit, like I really did fuck that up, or I do need to get better at doing that. But at the same time, there's been times where it's like, man, I know that I've like really made something like really impactful for that company or that band or whatever it is. So it definitely is not for everyone, obviously,
For
because
sure.
if it
Yeah.
was, then, but I do think that it is something that if you are, that one that's sitting at a desk and I think this boils down a lot more when it's creative stuff versus like
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
an accountant or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Freelance
discouraging any
accounting.
account. Yeah, I'm not.
Holy. That sounds scary, man.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, dude. It's like if you work for like an agency that's like 10 people, you are getting looked at for every little thing. And that's kind of where I was at, where like everyone would be away, but they see that I'm also away. And they're like, why are you away? I'm like, why is everybody in the office away? It's like weird little things where they're all staring at you.
Mm.
But then if you're in a marketing agency with like thousands and thousands of people, you could kind of just do nothing and get away with it. And
Totally.
I think that being in that, it either makes the thing that you like to do a chore, or it makes the thing that you like to do feel like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being a freelancer, it's like you have a grip on all of your stuff, and the thing that you do for fun that's also work is still fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think once the thing that you enjoy doing the most starts becoming a chore is one of the worst feelings ever, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes through it. I've been that way so many times with design, but it always comes back, and there's a reason for it,
And yeah, I think you won't be able to put in the ungodly amount of hours or dedication to something if it's not something that you fully believe in with your whole chest,
Right.
Like,
For sure.
like I haven't actually really talked about this really at all, but I think at every single job that I had right when like Scoped was kind of getting started, I would
Mm.
and I'll just say this because I feel like I'm at a point where I'm trying to transition away from having something where someone could hold this against me potentially. But I
For
would
sure.
always have something in the like a small little window of like, okay, like I have a 30 minutes here that I can maybe like, be tweaking something on the back end for the thing that I actually give a fuck about. Because otherwise I'm just sitting here, I'm waiting to get an update from this thing from this person, and it's like I'm just a bum in a seat. And I hated myself for like just that was my existence at a lot of different places.
Man.
And
holy shit.
And when I would actually try to like, okay, I'm not just gonna like phone it in. I'm trying to give you a little bit more of it today or this week or whatever. It would always be met with scrutiny, with, okay, well, that's not the vision. Like there was always different roadblocks ahead. But like, I feel like when it's stuff with Scoped or my own music things, it's like, if I told Jordan, and I'd be curious if Jordan wants to edit as far as like different things, because I hit him with ideas all the time for Scope projects. Yeah. But I think at the very least, when it's like a smaller like Jordan's interesting because Jordan almost like he sought me out because of what I was doing locally, and he was like, I really fuck with that, and I want to help out. So like you, instead of it being like here's the job posting where the fucking Indeed or LinkedIn, like if you're doing something that's actually like palpable, like either the clients will come to you or the employees will come to you.
Yeah. That's a big thing. And like going off of all of that, it's like being a bum in a seat. God, man, it's terrible. I, like working that last job, straight up, my mom told me this too. I was like, Mom, what the fuck, man? This sucks. like you told me this is gonna be cool, and it sucks. And she's like, well, you're working a 9 to 5. And I'm like, well, yeah. And she's like, well, like straight up, don't give them all your time. Like, sit on your laptop and do the things that are fun for you, And in doing that, it's like, yeah, like maybe I played a little RuneScape on the job. Maybe I played a little WoW on the job too. But, I also was able to get back into design and like design for myself. And then, like you said, like for example, there's this club called the Connecticut Art Directors Club that it was this guy named Mike Marks, and he sought me out. He was a guy that was in hardcore back in the day, knows like all like the Piebald guys and like all these bands, which is so sick. And he like runs his club that essentially like helps people in like the creative scene in Connecticut kind of have like a hub, you know. And like it was cool because he just sought me out. He's like, cool, like you're a musician, you know, but you also design, and like it always works out. I feel like if you trust yourself in what you do and like the designs you make or whatever it is, like you don't have to work like a shitty job to get by. Like it'll all work out. You just gotta put in the time. You gotta put in that work. And people will seek you out.
And another quote that I've been really thinking about is like the minute that you quit on whatever you're doing, like creatively, is like the only thing that guarantees is that it will never happen. And I'm a full believer that like every band, every record label, every, you know, creative person within the scene is like one thing away from it actually like game changing their entire lives, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something I think about often. This is a very meta like way that I'm trying to think about it, because this episode will come out like end of February. So by the time that people are listening to this publicly, Scoped will have launched a Patreon, but there will be also people who are listening to this as like an early access, because, you know, we're recording this on Thursday. We're going to drop it on Saturday. Like there's a lot of different things here. But like, transparently, it's like it is something that I've been very nervous about, because I've been doing this shit for so long, and if I know that a lot of people have been like, you should like do this like thing, like, you know, do the ass, like, you know, try to make it a thing, and I would almost like downplay myself a little bit to like think about like, well, like, have I done enough? Like, do I have the right messaging for like this video that I've been putting together? But I realized that I just need to like stop belittling myself and just be like, yeah, like I have done a lot. I'm going to put it out there and see who wants to back it, you know, with $5, $10, whatever it is. Because like, if I don't take that leap, then, you know, I'm just going to be standing on the edge of the cliff, just kind of wondering. So
that's the most important thing, is just like, if there's something that you're thinking of doing, what's the worst that could happen? You know, like put your all into it. For example, if there's a point where you're like, this thing could be cool and I could like interview bands and stuff and like do a bunch of networking and a bunch of stuff, but then you were just like, I don't think people would fuck with it. It would never happen. It would never be a thing. But like here you are, like you have like these like 200 plus episodes, like doing a Patreon, like you've made it so far just for taking that little leap.
Right.
Same thing with music, same thing with design, whatever it is. Like with this band, you know, there was such a weird, anxious moment of like, should I take the leap? Should I be in music? Should I just stick to my 9 to 5, you know? But like, shit, last band I dropped out of college for. I went back, but I dropped out of college for it. And you know, taking that leap did so much for me. And if I didn't, then I would just regret it. It's so important. If you want to make a label, do it, because you never know if it's gonna take off and be game changing. You know, the Patreon, like what, like one person's gonna say no? Who cares? There's gonna be people who like it. There's people who are gonna do it. People are gonna pay for it, and it's gonna be awesome. Like, but you would never know unless you know, take the leap and just give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and I think that's important.
I think like when I was like putting the video together, it was like, okay, do I need to overly explain like the content will still be coming as per usual? This is just a way to like upgrade it and like take it to the next level. And I was like, I think so, because some people in our scene specifically will start shows and different things, and they have a Patreon like at launch. And that was something that like I wanted to do the opposite, because I wanted to be like, build this thing DIY. I wanted to be able to like, be in control of that and not just like, but again, it's like it was a bit of a backwards thing where people are like, you've been around the block and did another, you've lapped people as far as being around the block. So like,
absolutely,
it's time. So, so going back to the design stuff for you, like, you were mentioning like you want it back a number of years ago, you were like, I don't know how I feel about just like cold DMing people about like, hey, like this is my portfolio. Should we do something together? But now it seems like you've come around to that idea. Talk to me about like the switch in mindset and if you've even started to do that and saw that to be a successful way to get new business for yourself.
I haven't yet. I still have like a flow of people that get in touch and want to do work, but when it was weird when I joined that club and was like on the board for that club and kind of helped people in that way. I noticed that big companies and marketing and ad agencies and all the stuff, all the creative agencies, they network, and their networking is, what's your portfolio like? Or here's my card, here's my this, here's my that. So it kind of inspired me a little bit to just be like, the worst anybody could say is no. And it goes for anything. It's like, say you make a band and you want to pitch it to like a small label or something, give it a shot. The worst they could say is no, and we move on. So that's where that kind of derived from. And like, again, like I felt, it made me feel bad, man, because like when people like would send like the band stuff and be like, yo, like here's a design, can we work together or something? I'd just be like, I think part of me was jaded because I did all the designs already. So I was like, no, like I'm doing them. But like, it's, people are just trying to get themselves out there, and that's so important, man. And I think after like COVID and everything, and seeing this like kind of like TikTok evolution of people like making their hobbies jobs and really putting their all into making like screen printing shirts and turning that into a career for themselves at like such a young age. Like it was definitely inspiring to just put yourself out there. If there's like someone you've always wanted to do a design for, they probably won't see your portfolio until you send it to them and be like, hey, check this out. You could fucking hate it and never talk to me again. I wouldn't mind, but there's a chance you check it out, and that's all that matters. Maybe you pitch to the next guy. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where it's been at.
I think it's whether you're going out on your own or doing whatever, I think it's a really good practice to put to be comfortable with getting rejected and being comfortable with no, because I think a lot of people build it up in their mind as like, if they say no, it's like game over for myself. But
it's
like,
all done. Yeah.
Versus like if you ask 100 people, like let's say you asked 100 labels to put out your band's demo, like one will definitely say yes. There might be like 20 that are like, oh, like let's talk, but one will definitely say yes in time.
Absolutely.
But like I think a lot of people might only think about asking like 5, like the top 5 giants. But like, they probably get thousands of messages every single day about whatever. And I think
Roadrunner,
a lot of people,
hit me up.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people just get all, downtrodden about that. But like, I like it's always funny when I put out a podcast for someone that I've been like fighting for like almost like the better part of a year. And that could be any reason of like, they're in a big band that like maybe they have a press person, maybe they're doing this, and finally we connect the dots. And I get a comment on the post that's like, oh, I've been I don't know why this has taken so long for this person to come on. It's like, you have literally never been told, like, nah, not right now. There are people that have reached out for the podcast that are like, hit me up in a year. And I make a calendar event to be like, okay, I'm going to at least ask this person.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a class that was strictly on critique. And that helped me through my entire life up to this point. It's like, I remember we would like put up our like drawings or whatever like on the wall, and it was like always give like a good thing, give a bad thing, and give a good thing.
So sandwich the bad thing between two good things. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So it's like, you know, like your shading's amazing, your line work's iffy, but you know, but do it nicely. Don't say it like I just did. But like that shit sucks. But I've seen people like slam books on the ground and like slam doors and like punch a wall over it. And it's like, you've never been told no in your life, and it shows. Because holy shit, have I been told no so many times, like wanting something and your mom's like, no, you can't have that, you know? But you get like, it's not like thick blood. I just think it's like a normal thing to kind of, if someone's like, no, just be like, next time, you know? Like if you ask for like you said, like asking for an interview and they're like, I can't right now. It's like, all right, word. Like, just let me know.
Yeah.
You know, the worst somebody could say is no, you know, whether it's like a label or a design or I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of something that's not music and design, but that's all I know. So I'm trying to think. Shit.
I would argue that the actual worst thing is not no, it's no communication at all. Because
if you leave me on red, oh my God, I will. Okay, that's like, when I feel defeated for sure.
Because you like it's the unknown, and like, and again, I think it just reflects on the person. But like when I'm just saying, if I've hit you up to be on the podcast and you left me on red, there is more respect that I would give you if you're just like, yeah, like it's a no for me. Like, you know, if you're gonna pull a fucking Howie Mandel or fucking who's the other guy on from American Idol,
Simon Cowell.
If you want to pull a Simon, it's a no for me and red X me. That's totally cool. I'm totally
down.
Cool.
Yeah.
But could you imagine going up to you know, America's Got Talent and then like you do your shit and like no one buzzes or says anything for months,
dude? And like that's the thing. It's like we're in a world now where you text or you call or whatever. Like sometimes, like we've never seen each other face to face, you know, but I feel very close to you and like just like talking all the time and interviews and chatting, and I consider you a very dear friend.
Oh,
because that's how the world is now. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true.
Where like
I feel like hardcore really has embraced that. Like even before technology. But yeah, I totally.
Yeah, man. I mean, all of my best friends are all around the country, and it sucks for not being able to see people all the time unless you tour. But it's like, man, it's like literally walking up to someone and be like, "Yo, can you grab that for me really quick?" And they're just like, "What? Don't leave me on red, man." Oh, dude, I hate being left on red. That's the only thing. Tell me no, I'm chilling. Leave me on red. I'm just like, dude, what is your issue?
Yeah.
But unless there's something completely wrong that's happening on your end, then I'm sorry, but
yeah. But I do think that there are things where it's like, even the biggest podcast, like I'm sure even though I'm not a fan, I'm sure there's people that Joe Rogan like hits up time and time again, and they say no, and that could be for the same reason that I might say no. Like I don't know if I honestly would say no, because it's who else? Like, would you say no to a Joe Rogan interview?
I think morally I would want to, but I don't know. Shit. It depends on what he wants to talk about.
Yeah. If he
wants to talk about some dumb shit, then no.
Yeah. I think it's more of a power move to go on Joe Rogan and then walk off if he's trying to take the interview on a Rogan tangent. But I think I think even in his world, there's people that he hits up, and maybe that person is even harder to reach, and maybe that person just doesn't like doing interviews. Like I've tried to really think of it that way, but and if anything, just build up a bit of a reputation for this show where, like, even though there's people that like normally don't do podcasts within hardcore, they're like, well, if I'm gonna do any, it's yours, because of you know, friends of mine who are like, oh yeah, like Spencer's a shit. Like when I had Matt from Citizen on, we've chatted a bit afterwards, but then he hit me up like a couple of weeks ago being like, hey, a friend of mine who's in this band, and we're still in the midst of confirming it, so I don't want to drop the ball just yet. But he was like, he went on another hardcore podcast, and he was like, yeah, it was a good time. He's like, oh, you should do Spencer's as well. He's like, oh, who's that? So like, you know, that's the shit that like really matters to me, is like,
absolutely.
And you know, I think that's the same thing with design, is like, oh man, like this design is so sick. Like the word of mouth aspect to everything we do is so important. But again, to go back to the very first thing we talked about, is like, you need to be like totally like willing to like send out a message, get a no, and just continue in paving your own way. Yeah.
Do your thing. You know, it's important to just you have to be strong-willed in the design or just the creative world in general. Know your worth, price yourself the right way. You know, I was terrible at that, like kind of growing up. I'd just be like, I'll do $25 for that logo. But all I had to buy was like, I don't know, man, like a snack before school, like in high school or whatever. So like it was fine. But I mean, you just be strong-willed, you know?
Can I put you on the spot?
Yes.
I like this. Say a nice thing, a bit of criticism, and then a nice thing, and kind of sandwich it. What would you say about our show and what we do, if you had to critique it? I'm genuinely very curious, and you can be as critical or as, you know, cautious as you want, but I'm
okay. Oh God. Well, fuck, man. Usually there's sometimes where like criticism's like so fucking easy, because I could just be like, you suck, but in a nice way. But like but like I really don't have
that was the nice thing. That was the critique part. Yeah, I'm just
I don't have anything bad to say. I mean, like, because straight up I see like the work that you put in, and it like reminds me of me a lot, because for example, like you're talking about the Patreon and like all the things you want to do, and like you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should do it, but people are like, go ahead. Like for the band, like it took till literally last night, I had a conversation with everybody where, because I wanted to do music video for this song, like trying to figure out the rollout, and people are like, everyone else is like, well, I don't want to seem like, you know, like a little pretentious and like putting out a music video off rip. And I'm like, well, we're not making like, you know, in $1 million video. We're probably just going to have our homie like film with a VX or something.
Right.
You know, which, you know, I love going all out with everything. And I think that shit just rocks, because it means that you're excited about the things that you're creating. But then I get too in my head about like what other people think. Which, I mean, I guess you did say that earlier, so I guess that's a little critique, because that's my critique for myself too, is like I feel as if like I always think about like, well, what if people think it's like, you know, fucking shitty to put out a music video when you've never put out music before, and like the first thing you put out is a music video. But then I'm like, it would be fucking cool though. And I like it, you know, and someone's gonna like it. Maybe everybody hates it, but there's gonna be that one person that it's for, and that's what matters to me, you know. Sure, that'll be my critique if I have to pick one. Man,
okay,
that it just, And I said it like 90 times earlier, but like just doing you and doing what you want to do is what I think is the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, if you feel like people aren't going to like it, fuck them. Too bad, you know, because someone's going to.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
I've really, I don't know. I think I've been a pendulum on this idea of like confidence when it comes to band stuff, like creative stuff. Because sometimes like being overly confident, or not overly, but just just flat out just confident in general of like, I know what I'm doing. I know that it's coming from an authentic place. I know how to do it as far as, you know, the structure. Like people that don't have that, like it will come off as like standoffish, or they'll just like assume that I'm just a dickhead and I can't just have like a regular conversation with people. And there are people that don't have that, I guess, at least from my perspective, that don't have that confidence, but their art and what they still put out is still like super
Amazing.
good. Yeah. So it is like, I don't know, I don't try to like, I've had to kind of like swing back a little bit just to kind of knowing full well that they're, you know, and I'm not trying to appease those people in general, but I know that sometimes when it gets a little too like, oh, here comes Spencer on his preach train, it's like, I'm really not trying to do that. It's like, I'm really just passionate about the scene and the culture and the music and everything in between. So like, and I am not discarding that you are either, but it's like the way that you express it just might be different.
Yeah. And I think that shows. It's like, cause shit, like, I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, damn, what the fuck? Like, I'm not confident in myself, but, you know, I try to kind of, I don't fake it, but it's sort of like, if I'm not at least a little confident in what I do, the things that I put out, the words that I say, I'm going to feel like I'm doing nothing.
Right.
So like I always push like self-expression in people, like dress how you want, do this, do that, because I think that's so important. Someone's gonna think it's dope, you know. Some people might think you're weird. Fuck them. Like just be your own person, do your own thing. Yeah, man. Like I'm not, like I said, like I'm definitely not the most confident, but like if I have like a cool like outfit on, I'm like, damn, I like my outfit. And I'm gonna go out like that. I'm gonna wear the biggest pants that I can to a ramen spot, and everyone's gonna look at me weird, but I'm gonna do it anyways because that's how I feel good about myself.
Right.
You know, so it kind of all ties into like whether it's like podcasting or music or anything. It's just like if you want to do the crazy thing, do the crazy thing. I think someone's gonna think it's weird, but who cares? You know.
Yeah.
As long as you like what you're doing and somebody else enjoys it. You know?
Yeah. I think like trying to just stay, like I'm writing a song about this right now, but it's like staying in your own lane and literally paying no mind to the praise or, you know, rocks being thrown at you.
Yeah.
And just being like, you know, finding your own path. And, you know, because I think the reason, and this goes back to the whole no aspect, is I think people get so high on like the, you know, fire emoji, you're the goat, this shit is slaps, like all of that. But the minute that they're met with something that could be totally valid, as far as like a piece of criticism, like I don't like the production, I feel like it's a little too this, or, you know, I feel like the vocal style is like like whatever it is, that can really just like ruin someone's a week, let alone day. You know? So
yeah, man.
I have really tried to practice for myself, and I encourage other people. It's like, you know, smell the roses and, you know, like recognize when someone's like giving you some props, but like don't get too like don't let that just be like, if other people aren't saying that, then I'm a fucking piece of shit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important not to get a hot head either. Like obviously be confident in what you're doing, but as soon as you let that become like a personality thing, then that's where like getting told something's a little iffy will literally ruin someone's month.
Right.
For example, new record, I mixed and mastered the whole thing, and I just learned how to use like Reaper, like last year.
Wow.
And I don't even know what I'm doing. Just using a bunch of plugins and YouTube and all that shit. So like, if someone's like, "Bro, the production sucks," I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, it fucking does," because I don't know what I'm doing. But like, that's why I feel so passionate in certain things where it's like, might as well give it a shot, man. And like, I think it's as DIY as it gets. We went and got the drums recorded with our homie because I can't record a drum set
Right.
for the life of me, not yet at least. But like, we could plug in a guitar to an interface and put a tone on it and make it sound cool, But yeah, like, just as long as you don't get like a hot head with things, criticism is the best thing in the world, because I've sent this record to a good chunk of people, and probably more people than I should have, but I I want different ears on it, and I want different mindsets. I want people that don't like that genre of music at all just to get a little taste of it, and tell me what you hate. We sent it out to people like to mix early on, and it just wasn't clicking. So it's like, why don't we just do it here? Like, literally on this computer sitting right here. Like, let's just give it a shot, oh man, I'm so good at derailing.
No, it's like, I think it's very important to like, for like the same, like for this Patreon video that will be already out and people are seeing it, but like I sent it to tons of people, like people that I know that are like, I wouldn't say fans of, but just like genuinely people that I know that have my back and know my intent and what I'm doing and blah, blah. But I also sent it to people that I'm like, not are like haters, but like people that are like a little bit more like impartial at the very least. Like those are the people that I'm, I know that I'll have diehards who want to sign up, and I know that I'm gonna have haters are like, there's no way that you would ever get a cent from me when it comes to this. But low-key, I'm also gonna watch all your shit ongoing anyways. I'm more concerned about the people in the middle that are like on the fence, or like maybe
absolutely.
have like listened to a couple things, and I feel like that's where I want to be spending the majority of my focus when I'm trying to push this shit out. But like, yeah, when I sent that video out, there would be certain things that, people would be like, yeah, like this is great. I think the flow's awesome. Like, I think it might be a little bit long. So I've been like, trying to slice and dice and really trying to like make it as lean as possible. But like, yeah, I think that's a really important thing to do for anything that you do creatively. But also, taking that with a grain of salt, because someone could just be totally out to lunch on their ideas. And it might be like, it might suit them, but it's not their project. So sometimes you have to
absolutely
not pick and choose, but if you're sending it to a trusted source, if you're sending it to someone who's like actually produced records, who's actually like
exactly,
and they have a laundry list of things, maybe that's the sign that you're like, oh, I either need to like maybe start from the ground floor, or whatever. But again, it's all art is all personal opinion and perspective, right?
It's very subjective. Yeah. Like I sent it to Randy, who like produced like our other record, or the Boundaries records. Like I've sent it to my uncle that got me into like Scrams and like Page 99, City Caterpillar stuff, like old Philly hardcore stuff. Like someone who would never just like pick this up and listen to it, just to get like every little opinion that I could, but staying true to what it was initially and just like picking apart what I can. There's probably stuff that I sent you that has probably changed since I sent it to you, So I'm glad you listened to it and liked it, but there's like 3 songs that have just been consistently changing, because like I'll listen to the beginning of it and be like, why the fuck did I sing it like that? Restart. And then like I'll change the lyrics, restart. But yeah, I mean, I love sending stuff to people and just I love critique. I love getting critiqued.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most important things, and if you can't be told no, I think it's something you got to work on a little bit. Because if you always go like, not saying to not go with your like fully with your gut, but like you need to expect that somebody isn't gonna fuck with a certain thing, and then kind of have that thought that like, should I change it? And if you don't want to, that's fine. But the option should always be there to, not think that everything is perfect.
Yeah, totally. So, Zadak, we've talked so much about, design and all this cool stuff, and we've alluded multiple times to this new project that you're in. So I think we've hit that point in the episode where we can talk officially about that. So,
oh God, yeah, let's do it.
So tell me, like, was there any overlap of the time that you were leaving Boundaries to when this project was starting, or was that like, did you need a break after leaving that band to kind of like do that? Talk to me about kind of like day one or like the initial spark or idea of Centralia.
So left band. Then there was a chunk of time where I think, if I remember correctly, I was just working and trying to work and get like just some design stuff and kind of try to like, not like settle by any means, but just kind of like relax my brain for a second. But then like I literally just couldn't stop writing music. Like and obviously like there was no intent to leave. But like I just was like, maybe I don't write music for a little bit, but literally just had to. So then I had my buddy Jay, who is now the guitarist of Centralia, teach me how to use Reaper, and it was just downhill from there. And here we are.
Tell me about the origin of that name, because I think we were talking that like there's a slight not pronunciation but spelling of that
the
you
spelling
wanted to do.
change.
But
Yeah.
is there a specific meaning to like choosing that as the like when you choose the band name, it's like that's a thing that's gonna go on all the merch, on all the records. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
It was weird. So let's see. So I'm a huge nerd. I love video games a lot. I play too much World of Warcraft.
I'm a huge nerd.
I just play WoW, and I play World of Warcraft, and that's about it. That's like all I do. But also one of my favorite games in the world is Silent Hill. And we, at the end of the last song, it's like a bunch of like samples and like absurd stuff. And it's all from Silent Hill 3. And Centralia is a town in Pennsylvania that the like whole Silent Hill area and almost the entire thing is based around.
Okay.
So it's like this place where I think it was like miners were like underneath, or like coal workers were like underneath, and like the place was like on fire and it never went out. It was like the whole kind of thing behind it. I never really dug too deep into it, and I should. And I want to go there really bad, because you can just go and kind of just like be there, which is
Centralia, in Centralia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are all going and taking a picture there one day.
Absolutely.
But
yeah,
it was just like a neat thing that like I'm super into. And the original name, if I remember correctly, was going to be Blue Fog. It was a name that I made. So the lyrics that are on the Centralia record, I had in my notes since like 2017, 2018. I would just write in my phone and in journals and shit, just like not with the intent of making music, but just to like write.
Sure.
And then I just started writing down like phrases and things that like were just in my head, and that was one of them from like a tour, just probably having like a gloomy ass day, and I wrote it down. But I didn't like it, so we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and we used a bunch of Silent Hill samples. So I was like, this could be cool. But yeah, then we had to do the spelling change. Because there's like 3 other bands already named Centralia, but with an I, and they're like just like random bands that like I don't know, they might not even be active anymore.
Sure.
But I didn't want to step on any toes or deal with that in any way, shape, or form. So our buddy Brad from Roseblood was like, "Why don't you just like make it a Y instead?" I was like, "Holy fuck!" Like I would have never thought of it in my lifetime. But he's just like, "Yeah, just make it a Y. Just do that."
It's I was trying to figure out how to tweet this, but I couldn't find the right wording to do it. There's a part of me, and I don't think this will ever happen, but there's a part of me that would love to like bait, because it's that classic thing with most hardcore bands specifically, where it's like that band's actually getting a little bit of buzz, and then some stoner rock band or some like
dude,
whatever band from out of nowhere is like, hey, we had this name for a long ass time.
That is mine.
Yes.
Oh,
and then they
God, man.
either threaten them with some kind of legal action or, you know, a cease and desist or whatever. I would love, and again, I don't think this will ever happen, because the logistics and the ways that I have to go around to get both those people on a call. Could you imagine if I had like 2 bands that had the same name, but they're from different scenes to like battle of the band name, if you will?
That would be fucking crazy.
It would be.
Because like, there was like Kublai Khan that happened too, where they had to put like Texas at the end of their name. Who else?
There's a band from Chicago called Buggin' Out that had to drop out and just be Buggin'.
Is that why?
Yeah, that's why.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a band, I guess like regionally. So there's a band from a province over called Flashback, which is like a new metal band. We talked about them last time. There's a stoner rock band from Calgary called Flashback, and Nathan was like, the only rule is you never film them for the channel. I was like, okay, but dude, like, I think as a consumer, that would be again. We talked about this before. Like, Scoped Exposure Podcast is not supposed to be like a drama-filled podcast, but if we were only doing a drama style show, that's what I would love to do.
Yeah, just like one off drama episode of Battle of the Band Name.
Yeah,
that would be sick. I mean, see, that's the thing, right? Is like, would I want to be a part of that? Fuck no. Would I like to watch it?
Absolutely,
for sure. Holy shit!
But I think for the hardcore band side of it, I would be like, you know, hey, like, this is what we're doing. But for the other band, we need to like convince them otherwise. Like, yeah, we're just having you on for an interview, and then they jump on.
Yeah, it would be super sick to talk.
Who are these people? These are the band that you tried to sue. Let's have the conversation.
This is also name.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be silly. I would watch.
But I think the last thing before we get back to Centralia is like, most of the time when there's other hardcore bands that have the same name, like but they're at totally different parts of the world. Like, who the fuck cares?
I don't get it. I think it's usually just old people who are upset.
Yeah.
Like that have had a name for like mad long, and they think it's like morally wrong that there's another band potentially bigger than theirs or definitely bigger than theirs that are like taking their name, and that's why I'm like, bro, there's a Y in it. Everyone leave me alone.
Yes.
No one's thought of it yet.
I don't want to be on Battle of the Band Names.
Get away from me. No, I don't want it. I want to watch it. I want to be a consumer. I'm good. But yeah, it was like the craziest little like light bulb moment, because I loved the name so much, and I was like, I don't want to get rid of it. But like, there's like 3, which part of me was like, well, if there's like a bunch of other ones already, what's another one, right? But then it's like, for example, with Paper Cut, it took Jay like till 2 days ago to be able to get into like the Spotify account, because there's like already 3 Paper Cuts, and then they like overlap, and sometimes like your music ends up on like another person's like account or some shit, and it gets all weird. So you have to do all this proving that you're the one, and like,
dude,
I don't think there'll be
I
any
get a notification being like, some giant ass hardcore band just dropped a new song out of nowhere, and I go, I'm like, I see the artwork already. I'm like, oh no. There's a rapper named Gridiron that apparently is dropping a song today.
It's like, oh, dude, it'll be so sick too because you get excited, because like you get a cool little notif and you're like, yeah, man. No, they didn't even like announce that shit. That's cool. And then it's like reggae, and you're like, damn, there's no breakdowns in this. What happened?
Right. Yeah. So as far as the time of us doing this interview, there will probably be a single that's already out. But like I was alluding to, like there's definitely like metalcore-esque things, but like I do hear the scram. I hear some of those extra things that y'all are putting in. So like, did the stylistic direction of that, like, was that intentional right out the get-go, or did that come after like lots of different writing sessions and different things?
So for all the lore heads out there, we wrote it over Discord because our guitarist lived in Vegas at the time of like starting this. So we were always like back and forth, like writing over Discord and like sending files and everything. It started with me just wanting to like write music, and I was on like a huge Glassjaw kick, and I was like, writing something like this would be cool, but also like I don't want to be the type of person like wear like their influences on their sleeve, like I kind of want to like have like my, like you could tell that there's influence from certain things, but I don't want it to be like too obvious. So like writing it, you realize that like only Glassjaw could write Glassjaw music, and like you can like them and like Finch and stuff, and like the influences are there, but it's really just like write your own stuff. So like at first, like the idea of being like a post-rock-esque band was kind of the beginnings of it. But then it just trailed off. Like obviously I have like metalcore, hardcore background, so there has to be breakdowns. Like there has to be mosh parts. Because I think what I have to kind of like bring to the table and talk about is like best perceived in an aggressive music style, so, and also I just want people to mosh to our music. I think it's cool, it's fun, and like kind of like feel what the song is about and what the music's about and kind of let it out, but it started as like post-rock alternative, like early stuff that like we all came up with, like Finch, which by the way, we were just trying to buy Finch tickets and they all sold out as soon as they went up. So all you robot people who stole the Finch tickets from me, I hate you. But yeah, man, it started like that and kind of like on that side of things, but then it just like evolved into like there's like, oh well, then this is gonna be before the record, so I don't want to leak too much. But there's like I would say that there's some stuff that like don't even have like music, like no, not even like any instruments, like it's like weird, it's weirdo shit, and like if you like it, you'll like it, and if you hate it, you will absolutely hate it. You will absolutely talk shit about it, but that's fine. It's exciting, it's not one thing, and I think that's cool.
Yeah,
it's very all over the place.
I definitely felt like I was going on a journey, because there was like certain songs that like like don't have that typical like hardcore length as far as being under 2 minutes, but I felt like they flowed. Like I was like, oh, the song's over already, because I was so like invested in it, if that makes sense. Can we talk about the there's like an interlude track on the record that like caught my ear specific? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, for sure.
So like
let's do
it. Like, so when that came up, I think it's like somewhere in the middle, because it's a full, you guys are doing a full record, which is already like a huge feat.
Yeah. It's just the whole mindset of like not being able to stop writing music. Like once we started, it was like, I don't want to stop. It's like it started as like 6 songs. We're like, okay, that's like an EP ish, like that's fine. But then it was like, yeah, but like I have this other idea. It's like, all right, write it, like let's record it, fuck it,
right?
And now we're at what? It's 10 songs, so it's a lot. But why not?
Yeah. But I think the interlude specifically, like, kind of, because like you were saying, like, you felt like you have a lot to say, and I think you even mentioned that a little bit, or I got a sense of that at the very least on our first conversation. But like, now that you're on the mic, you're the one deciding on what is going to be said for all these songs.
Yeah.
For the interlude, what was interesting is, there's no lyrics, but I could tell that you are present during that song. And there's a lot of like really old like home recording tapes, it sounds like, that are kind of like interspliced there, which I was like, I've heard, we've all heard like here's the voicemail sample or like different things like that, but like having you almost present, and present in the way where you're just like maybe hearing you sigh in between, like, and hearing like someone is switching between these things. Like, talk to me about like putting that song together, because like it seems like on like I can make a bunch of weird samples and scary sound bites, but like that felt like there was more purpose behind it for sure.
So the record as a whole is kind of like it's not like a concept album by any means, but it's like kind of like the realization of like, I felt growing up, I was never like the cool kid, but like even like as a kid, it's like your mom is like the cool mom, like for like a chaperone for a field trip. Sure. So everyone's like stoked on your mom's presence, but like not yours. And you're like, oh, that's weird. That's my mom. Like, what the fuck, man? Right. So the whole thing is kind of like, I guess you could say like a journey of like the first realizations that like people kind of suck. And like, it doesn't necessarily feel like people are out to get you by any means, but it's like the people who are around you might just not be good in that moment. And having that realization at a young age is kind of fucked up, because it kind of sets your brain up for like imminent failure throughout the rest of your life. So the interlude itself, growing up, I was very like, I loved videotaping things. I always had a phone or a camera or whatever it may be. Just like if the friends are hanging out in the cul-de-sac, like skating or something, I'm filming. If, me and my friend are playing like football in the yard, I'm like, Mom, record this, I love just having that. Like, I would literally set up a camera and like make Slipknot masks for my friends and like sit in the room and like hit the couches with spoons and shit and be like, let's do it. And they're like, no, that's so annoying. I'm like, I don't care. Let's do it. It'll be fun. I just loved videotaping things. But with that, I always had videos of kind of like moments where maybe I didn't have the realization of like being in such a low state until watching it back. So all of those are recordings from when I was a kid, like with a camera or like with my mom's like fucking shitty Android phone or whatever it was, which made for a really eerie sounding recording and stuff. But there's a lot of deep meaning, deep rooted things where like there's one clip of like my mom being like, hold my coffee, like, and I'm like just like interface with a camera, like being like a stupid little kid, like here, and she's like sighing and shit and like like very annoyed with me, but I didn't get that. I was just like being the annoying kid, like I'm a child, camera. There's some other kind of like deep shit where like I I accidentally like recorded my like grandma like nodding off like at the kitchen table. And I didn't know what was happening. Like I thought she was falling asleep. And that's why the interlude is called She's Tired. It's, and you look back at it and it's like you start to realize, like, for example, like why like I don't touch anything. Like I'm straight edge, you know, and like just I don't like that kind of stuff. And you have like these weird things that happen to you like over your life where like, you know, a lot of kids don't accidentally record that shit and like put it on like their mom's YouTube, like haha. But I did when I was like 11, you know, so it's just there. And it was really tough for me because I didn't know if I wanted to use things like that and like such deep rooted things and like this whole thing. But it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it feels like it encapsulates the entire record into like this little thing. And I was just trying to also figure out like how can I make this not just sound like home videos, you know? So there's like the whole sound design thing where like it's like clicking through a thing and it's like clicking through like little, trying to make it seem like he's clicking through like different clips, if that makes sense.
Totally.
But yeah, the whole thing is really fucked up. It was a lot for me to even think about making, but you know, yeah, it's just a bundle of me realizing that things suck, getting lied to, just being the annoyance for people and not really realizing it, people just being straight up shitty to you, like, and these are all things that like I look back and I see, I'm like, damn, so things always sucked. You know, like it's not just now, like you're oblivious to it growing up. And then there's like a point of like realizing it, and I think that's what the interlude is. And then the rest of the record is like, I'm mad about it, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of that journey, it's that roller coaster, you know.
Yeah, it's very interesting on how, because I was very similar. Like I was always like trying to have a camera and I like to like record. Like even the early days before I was like filming shows, like it was for some reason so important to me to like always have a camera or a GoPro or a Flip Ultra HD in the back of the room just to record my set just for myself. So I could like look back and critique. But yeah, there's a bit of a there's a weird thing there where it's like, you know, now that, you know, like like depending on where you live, there are like certain laws as far as like recording people in public and those kind of, and everyone's family situations are a little bit different as to what people are comfortable with. But there are like certain moments where you're like, at least if you're like watching something online or even listening to something on a record, like, should I even have this access to this person's personal life, you know? And, you know, like I think the authenticity of like hardcore, as far as like, you know, not having things prettied up and like, you know, especially the way that I film shows or even put out this podcast, is like what we talk about is what we talk about. And I don't try to insert my own bias into like we should cut that out, that's a little too personal, unless it's like obviously requested by the guest. But like there are definitely certain things that, you know, things will come to light and people will like there was something recently on a podcast that I listen to all the time where it was talking about how you know, there's a lot of like, you know, deep fakes and AI art. That's a very big thing that's happening these days right now. And there's a lot of that within the porn space. So a lot of people are deep faking people onto other people's bodies without their consent, obviously. And it's like very like a very fucked up industry. Not like not porn overall, but just like that specific leg of it where
the AI deepfake,
the AI and you know, because people are paying for this content because they're like, you know, whatever. But there was someone that happened to recently that was affected to friends of that podcast, and she went live on Twitch, and she was like giving her real like raw reaction to like seeing that, and it was like it was so like oh my gosh, like, and
I saw that today, actually. I think if we're talking about the same thing, then I saw that.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the girl's name, but like it's
it was like the two streamers, right? That whole thing.
Yeah, I
where like
think
the
so.
guy streamer like watched it and like.
Oh yeah, he's like accidentally like.
Yeah. And his like wife is crying in the background and shit.
Yeah.
It's
So like that aside, like there might be like a small sliver of like I don't like there. It's obviously like super brave of someone to be doing that, to put themselves out there and like not put themselves out there and like, this is how I'm like actually feeling. Like, you doing this fucked up thing has actually put me in this state. But there is an element of like, whether it's your family or your partner, to have a sense of integrity, to like putting your to like upholding and protecting some of those things if you have those videos or those audio messages or those recordings. And it's super I think this is the right word, but vindictive of people that are like, oh, I'm gonna like use that against you on art, of all things, so I do think that it's when we're talking about what you did specifically, it was very thought-provoking for myself to like really think about why you put that together the way you did, versus just being like, oh, that sounded cool. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And like, I appreciate that, because I feel like people will listen to it and be like, just another interlude, click. But I don't know, man. It was hard for me to like even think about making that, just to begin with, because like like you sometimes like come across like things that like you record and you're just like, oh fuck, like like maybe, I don't know. But all the stuff that I just like hit up my mom and I was like, hey, do you have any like home videos of us like as like kids and shit? And it was just like it was very specific to like friends back in the day, just like saying like condescending things to me, and just me being like, damn, like it was like that, like, and I didn't even know. So then like you kind of like sit on it for a while, because like that, it's just like how my life kind of was, and that was just like it was just like always like kind of being like here and everyone being here, and I'm just like, that's weird, but I'll live, so yeah, the interlude was tough, because it was a lot of like not putting like terrible shit together in like a thing and being like, this is quirky art, but being like, this is like, I don't know, this is like I'm just like putting kind of everything into this record, I feel like I just like to not like go all out necessarily, but like I don't want to do things for like a creative choice, if that makes sense, because I don't want it to be like this quirky thing. It's more or less like for me, and like something that like I'm comfortable putting out there, so like there's, like I said, there's nothing fucking terrible on it. It's like conversations with old homies and shit, but it sounds fucked up. And that was kind of the point, was to make it sound like an eerie interlude, but it's like a little bit deeper.
Right. Yeah. And I think like, we all, if we looked back at old home videos, whether we were fucking 5 years old or 15 years old, we've all done some like, and said some fucked up shit that like, being 20, 30 plus, you're like, yeah, like that. I'm really glad I'm that much further past that. But it is a constant reminder for me as well of like, at least when you're documenting, whether it's through home videos or through this podcast, like I'm a firm believer of like, being way more positive than like having like a road of just negativity and drama and like hate
Yeah.
and all that shit behind you. Because like, what kind of legacy is that to like to leave behind, right?
Hmm.
Because like, just in the same way that you're looking back at like home videos where a homie is saying something super, I guess, like mean against you, and at the time you kind of shrugged it off, but you're like, damn, was it, like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought this person had my back or whatever it is. Like
Hmm.
the same effect can be totally flipped of having someone who's like, oh, you were actually like my ride or die, and you were actually there for
Yeah.
me like when I was fucking 9 years old and we didn't have bands or fucking social media shit in the
Yeah,
works. Like,
man.
so it's I don't know, it's something. It was a very, I think, if the goal was not just to have a, oh, here's the interlude track and I'm gonna skip it, like that is something that's like, oh yeah, once this record is out, that's something, this is a track that I'm gonna listen to because it has purpose, not just like to fill a
Right.
slot on an LP song wise.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. I didn't care what the length was on the LP. Like, it wasn't supposed to be a full length. I just wanted to make stuff, and make what I was feeling at the time. And that's something I've never really been able to do. With like old band, it was, everybody does something.
Mm.
This was like early on, it was like me and my buddy, and like over time, it was like, oh, so this might actually be a real thing.
Mhm.
Cool. So it became so much more than what it was supposed to, that I just wanted to keep it going. I was like, let's keep writing. I don't care. But I don't want to do like 2-song demo. Like, just put out a record. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. Um, but yeah, that the whole record serves a purpose. There's another interlude-esque thing that also serves a purpose on the record. There's all the songs mean something, and it's the album art means something, the back means something. Whenever there's physicals, the inside is going to mean something. Everything that I do, I feel like holds a purpose. Whether it's old band, new band, designs, just anything.
Right.
So I try to put everything into it that I could.
Yeah, and it sounds like you really did that, and I'm very excited for people to hear. Obviously, like the first song is out, but getting to hear the entirety of it front to back is it's been a joy. At least having the early access to it.
Yeah, man.
As far as when the actual record comes out, like, is it kind of like check the pulse as far as how many people are digging it before you start to tour, or kind of do like bigger scale things, or are you like hitting the ground running the minute it's on streaming?
So singles out right now. So then it will be out. The record we want to drop like late March, early April, because we have a show late April that I can't drop things about yet, but it'll be cool. It honestly might be announced by the time this is out, but I don't think it will.
Okay.
But we will be playing shows. I think the most important thing to me is, if touring comes up, of course, but I just want to, because like, sure, like I have like a little bit of like legacy or whatever. Like, I have a past with bands, and like if I put out a band, people might like it, but I don't want to just like sprint into something where we're like this new band. Like, I want to really get our like live show down and just put on like a really good show. Get that going, whether it's a smaller venue or a bigger venue or within the Northeast, and like playing one-offs and stuff. I just really, really want to get that down, and then we can tour, and then we could do this and that. But I think it's important to just get your name like out there, put out your song. Like, if people like the song right now, fucking awesome. You could come see it. That'd be dope. we probably won't tour yet, but like, pull up, sing the words, mosh, do your thing. I want to get that down. I want to get everything perfect before we kind of take it anywhere else, but kind of in the area.
Right.
You know, I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Because I don't think touring off rip is like a pretentious thing by any means, but like I don't want to seem like, you know, here we are already, like just put out a song and a record, now we're touring, you know, like I don't want to start from 0 and go all the way to 100, but I'll start at like a 15 and go to 100.
Start at a solid 15.
Yeah, like let's play a show, see how it goes.
Yeah. I think it's you know, learning how to walk before you fucking do a marathon is obviously that's a good move. But yeah, it's very, I'm excited to see you take the stage once again, but also as a front person now instead of, you know, someone that's just trying to convince everyone else on the tour to finger pluck the bass.
Man, that worked.
It did work.
That worked. And even though people are still using picks and shit, people are still plucking away with their fingers sometimes, and I take accountability for that. Absolutely.
I will take that to the grave for sure. So Zadak, it's been a really great chat with you as always, friend. You've said some very, very nice things that have really made my day and warmed my heart. And you know, it's
too, man.
It's yeah, and I don't know. It's again to go back to the intro of this pod. It's crazy to meet people through this, and then I know that our paths will cross. Hopefully this year, if anything.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I think so.
Yes, I think so. But at the very least, it's great to see you. As you know, the final moments of this pod before we do the wrap up is a favorite mosh story. So I'm not 100% sure of what you shared last time. So if you can't remember, oh, you do remember. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell a different one.
Yes.
I got a mosh story.
Sometimes I'm like, if you can't remember, just say something recent that comes to mind. But
I think what's really funny is like going back to shows. There's a lot of new people going to shows. That kind of like do their little silly dances and stuff, and they're like kind of like learning the ropes and stuff. But like every time there's a show and a set ends, I'll like walk away and somebody will come up to me and just be like, bro, do you do martial arts or something? And it's like, no. And it's like, how do you kick like that? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. It just happens. They're like, no, like you're different, bro. Like it's crazy. I think that's always funny is like people like being stoked on like your style. I think that's funny. And it happens all the fucking time.
What's the last show that happened?
That's a mosh story.
For you
at the Wham Leg, there was a show with Broken Vow, Ultimatum, shout out, and yeah. Oh well, the one time where the kid asked me about like martial arts, I saw Vomit Forth at Red Naba. Those are the homies, and I some kid like I was like on the couch afterwards because I like couldn't breathe because of my asthmatic ass, and he was like, "You have to do martial arts." He was wearing like a Machine Girl shirt, and I was like, "Is this your first show?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. Like I love this shit." And I'm like, "This rocks."
Yeah.
You know, I think it's so sick. I think sometimes it gets out of hand when new people are at shows. Sometimes, you know, with like someone like getting like kicked a little hard and they're like, I'm traumatized for the rest of my life. Moshing equals bad. I'm like, bro, stop. But I think it's cool when people are like really actually intrigued in the culture and they want to be a part of it. And they'll do anything. They'll do literally anything.
Yeah.
Like last tour I was on, some kid like kicked a hole in the wall and he was like so freaked out about it. And I was like, well, are you like, is everything fine? He's like, this is my first show ever. Like, I just looked up like YouTube videos of hardcore. And like, I thought that's what they did is like jump off the walls and I fell through the wall. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, that's fine, man. Like the fact that like he even went out of his way to like kind of like dig in a little bit and like try to figure it out and come in and just like be a part of everything. Cause when I first started going to shows, I stood in the back and I minded my business. You know, I didn't go straight in and start kicking holes in the wall. So shout out that kid. I don't know who you are, what your name is, but shout out Texas kid if you're listening that kicked a hole in the wall. That was dope.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's Man, it's we literally put out a podcast like 2 days ago that was like it touched on the whole like moshing is traumatizing, spiel. And yeah, like there will be people that see that and feel that, and they'll bend and they'll like have a take like that, and there will be other people that are like, this shit is so cool. I love feeling like Spider-Man for 20 minutes because I have to have spider senses going off at all times. But yeah, obviously hardcore, this doesn't need to be the hardcore is not for everyone spiel, but it's sick. Shout out to the Texas kid.
Yeah, Texas kid rocks. Kick more holes and more walls. Unless it's like a homies venue, then don't do that.
Yeah, then maybe don't do that.
They'll get really mad, and then I can't help you.
Right.
So.
Well, Zadak, all the links for your shit as well as Centralia will be in the YouTube description and in the show notes. But if there's anything you want to shout out, anything you want to plug, or anything you want to send the people off with before we go.
Shout out Afira Records. Shout out Rizal Got Her Wings. Paper Cut, Adrian, God, let's see, Seven Circle, Days, what else? Give me everything. All the people that stuck around, man, I got a very, very tight knit group that I'm very just happy being around all the time. And, things have been different and things have been weird, and ever since kind of like, new band, new everything. It's weird, but I just appreciate everybody that stuck around and trust me in my musical abilities and kind of take these adventures with me, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think all the stuff is just good problems to have, if anything. So, I'm really excited for people to hear the full record once it's out. Dude, great to see you. I'm just going to say it and speak it into existence that we will cross paths in 2023 in person.
Yes, man.
Because
it's only February.
It's only February. We
have so much fucking time, man. Yeah. We got to figure it out.
But always an inspiring chat with you, my friend, and really excited for what the future holds for you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.